Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have overnight been on a new PR blitz to try and win over King Charles ahead of what they hope to be a summer royal reunion next month.
We actually have some feedback from Meghan Markle. She's hitting back at her critics over some of these images she's been sharing online.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have been plagued by a dark cloud of their own making, and it overshadows everything that they try to do, especially lately.
All the royals, the King, the Queen, of course William, Kate, etc. Also Princess Bee and Princess Eugenie, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's kids, controversially, they were there. Harry and Meghan's absence were absolutely conspicuous by their absence.
For years, they publicly criticised the very royal family, institution and country that helped shape their global profile. Now, after everything that has happened, they appear ready to return to Britain with smiles and friendly waves, almost as if none of those explosive moments ever took place. But Britain answered with something far more powerful than another headline. The response came through the numbers, and they painted a picture that was impossible to ignore. Behind palace walls and across public discussion, the message landed hard. At the same time, growing speculation has fueled fresh questions about whether the marriage at the centre of this attempted comeback is facing increasing strain behind the scenes. Just stop and think about the confidence it takes. Harry is reportedly planning a return to the UK this July, bringing the entire Invictus operation with him for a major one-year countdown event in Birmingham. Yet wherever the conversation goes, one reaction keeps surfacing again and again. Nobody was asking for this, not the government, not the palace, and certainly not a large portion of the British public.
Harry and Meghan's strategy to create a sensational, albeit largely fictitious, storyline out of the royals and their time working for the monarchy was a recipe for media success. But notice the distinction between media success and personal and reputational success.
Harry would be a distraction. It would be awkward because he hasn't talked to his cousin in so long. So anyone trying to make the point that this was Harry's decision has lost the plot.
And Harry said he'd never bring Meghan and their kids back to Britain, but that now could be about to change. This is the bombshell discovery I've made from my royal insiders about his return. The King's reaction says it all. Well, let me tell you, the King's reaction is not good. Okay? And this constant attempt to bounce the royal family into a reunion.
And this is the part that many people simply cannot overlook. You cannot sit down with Oprah, release a Netflix series, publish a deeply personal memoir, and publicly criticize your own grandmother, your father, your brother, and the institution itself, then expect to return just a few years later as though the past has quietly disappeared. That has always been the sticking point for many critics. They believe Harry and Meghan have never fully understood that public trust is incredibly difficult to rebuild once it has been damaged. Britain has a long memory, and many people still remember every interview, every accusation, every television appearance, and every headline where the family that gave them worldwide recognition was heavily criticized, while those stories generated enormous attention and commercial success. So when reports began circulating that the Sussexes were considering a summer return, the public response was not excitement. It was not even simple curiosity. For many observers, it felt much closer to deep frustration because they believed they recognized exactly what was unfolding.
They have explicitly stated in interviews and via spokespersons or sources close to the couple, Harry and Meghan themselves, that they want to reconcile with the royal family, that they're done with all of the drama, that they miss their family. I would be surprised if Meghan ever says another word about the royals. That sort of a thing has been circulating for like a year now. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares, and nobody believes them. Money-making machine. You have a notoriously private and inconceivably famous family having a rogue who's willing to sell secrets, true or not. That is an undeniable goldmine of content. Everybody's curious about the royal family. They're like the most famous royal family in the world, and everyone knows who they are. And they're also incredibly popular and well-liked.
To them, it looked like a calculated pivot, a fresh rebrand, and an effort to walk confidently back into the very room they had already set ablaze, acting as though they had only just noticed the smell of smoke lingering in the air. That lingering perception continues to shape the conversation, making every new step in this proposed return even more closely watched than the last. As the speculation kept growing louder, fresh polling numbers suddenly landed, and they were even harsher than many people expected. The figure that immediately grabbed attention was just 19%. According to YouGov's long-running public opinion tracker, that is the share of people in Britain who now hold a favourable view of Meghan Markle. And this was not simply the result of one difficult news cycle or a temporary setback. It marked the lowest favourable rating recorded for her since YouGov began tracking public opinion back in 2017, making the latest results especially significant for commentators.
The king is keen to show his support for the Invictus Games. Like the rest of the royal family, His Majesty believes that Invictus is a very worthy cause, a friend of the monarch told me. He hopes that the Games will be a big success for Birmingham next year and is aware that a lot of taxpayers' money has been spent on it.
Basically are laying down the ground and running with a narrative in the hope that there's going to be a change. And there's not going to be a change of any significance. Yes, Harry will get some security. Every time Harry comes, if he gives notice, he gets security. That's not news. That's old. We're well aware of that. That's been happening since Harry and Meghan stepped down as senior royals.
Following her public image over the years. Now look at the other side of those numbers, because this is where many observers believe the picture becomes even more striking. Around 66% of people in Britain now hold an unfavourable opinion of her. That means roughly 2 out of every 3 respondents expressed a negative view, leaving her with a net favourability rating of -47. Put another way, those figures place her among the least popular public figures in Britain according to this survey. This is not being described as a celebrity simply going through a difficult moment in the headlines. Based on these polling results, it reflects one of the strongest levels of public rejection measured by the tracker. The contrast becomes even more noticeable when compared with where her ratings once stood. Back in 2019, the picture looked dramatically different. Her favourable ratings were around 55%, and many people viewed her arrival into the royal family as something exciting and full of promise. There was widespread optimism, positive media coverage, and genuine curiosity about what the future might bring. Then came the royal departure.
With Meghan, I think, again, she's trying so hard. She's trying to imitate these other celebrities that do this. And so it doesn't come across, especially, again, the whole backstory about this is her messaging to the real world, which is don't do this. And then she does it. But I think she's trying to emulate some of these younger celebrities that do this photo dump, no context. Here I'm randomly cutting onions. Here's Harry playing with Archie in the yard. She's just trying to look like these younger people.
All of these things are very standard activities, objectively speaking, when it comes to celebrities or public figures. Honestly, on paper, nothing to write home about here. These are pretty normal things that celebrities do or try. But the problem is, no one is talking about the jam or the loose spread or the charities, at least not in a good way. Because for years, Harry and Meghan trained the press and the public to expect exactly one product from them.
Followed by the Oprah interview, the widely discussed curtsy moment, the allegations of racism, and a long wait series of interviews, documentaries, and public statements that kept the disagreements in the spotlight. Support did not simply decline over time. According to these polling trends, it dropped at a remarkable pace. Many commentators argue she did not slowly move down the rankings. She experienced a dramatic collapse in public approval. Harry has not escaped those declining numbers either. His own polling has also fallen to historically low levels. According to recent surveys, The only senior royal currently viewed less favourably by the British public is Andrew. That comparison alone has become a major talking point, and many observers agree it is certainly not the kind of company any public figure would hope to keep as they try to rebuild their reputation. One question continues to hang over this entire situation, and it is probably the one any communications team would want answered first. If opinion polls really reflect such strong public feelings, what could happen if Meghan actually steps off a plane and appears in public across Britain? Several royal commentators have already offered their predictions, and some of them have been remarkably blunt. Former royal editor Charles Ray shared his view without much hesitation. He argued that if Meghan returned and made a public appearance, she could face loud boos from sections of the crowd, and suggested she might struggle with that kind of reception. He did not try to soften the point or leave much room for interpretation. Whether it involved an official royal engagement or, as he jokingly described it, a jam job, referring to her lifestyle brand, his opinion remained the same. From that perspective, the expectation is not of cheering crowds or a warm welcome. Critics argue that some public reactions could be far louder and far more divided than anything seen in the past. And this is where the conversation takes an even more controversial turn, because some royal commentators have begun discussing claims about how that possible hostility could be managed. According to ongoing speculation, some commentators have suggested that Archie and Lilibet could potentially be included during parts of a future UK visit. Those claims remain unverified, but the theory being discussed is that the presence of the children could encourage a softer public response and reduce tensions during any public appearances. The argument raised by commentators is simple. People are generally less likely to react harshly when young children are present. That speculation has immediately sparked another debate. Critics point out that Harry and Meghan have frequently spoken about the importance of protecting their children's privacy and limiting public exposure. Because of that, some observers argue that any decision to include the children in highly public settings would appear difficult to reconcile with those earlier messages. If such speculation ever proved accurate, many believe it would become one of the year's most heavily debated royal controversies. Even so, many analysts believe the timing of this reported return may reveal the biggest story of all. According to claims attributed to sources said to be familiar with Meghan's circle, the motivation is not being presented as an apology tour or a quiet return. Instead, those reports describe an effort to project confidence and demonstrate personal success rather than regret. Whether those claims accurately reflect reality remains open to interpretation, but they have fueled considerable discussion. The picture painted by those reports is of someone hoping to arrive not as a former working royal seeking acceptance, but as a successful California-based entrepreneur presenting a carefully built image of business success, financial independence, and a polished lifestyle brand. That is the impression many commentators believe she wants to leave behind, hoping Britain sees a story of achievement and prosperity, rather than one defined by the controversies that came before. One royal commentator summed up the situation with a memorable comparison. In that view, Meghan was never expected to arrive at Heathrow looking like a controversial figure within the royal family. Instead, the image being described was someone hoping to step off the plane looking as though she had emerged victorious from years of public battles. But many critics argue there is one major obstacle standing in the way of that narrative. The carefully presented success story has also faced its own challenges. Spotify is no longer part of the picture. Reports have suggested changes to the Netflix partnership, and her lifestyle brand has continued to attract intense public debate. At the same time, several opinion polls have indicated that her popularity in the United States has also shifted compared with the strong support she once enjoyed. That has created a sharp contrast in the eyes of many observers. On one hand is an image of effortless California living, peaceful gardens, polished branding, and endless positivity. On the other is a business journey that critics argue has experienced setbacks, delays, and ongoing questions about its long-term momentum. Whether fair or not, that contrast has become part of the wider public conversation. Many viewers say they notice the gap between the carefully produced social media images and the criticism that often follows them. The neatly arranged baskets of fresh produce, The jars of jam that some reviewers described as ordinary, the polished photographs, and the picture-perfect family moments have all become talking points. For supporters, they represent a carefully curated lifestyle. For critics, they can appear overly managed and designed to project a particular image. Because of that, every new post often sparks another wave of debate. Some people admire the branding, while others argue it feels overly polished or resembles a marketing campaign more than everyday life. Those differing reactions have become almost predictable each time new content appears online, keeping public attention focused on presentation as much as substance. Yet many royal watchers argue that the business headlines are only the opening chapter. They believe the more significant story is unfolding behind palace walls, where reports continue to circulate about Harry's relationship with senior members of the royal family and the conditions surrounding any possible future return. According to reports citing palace insiders, Harry is not said to be approaching these discussions simply by asking for reconciliation. Instead, some reports claim he has raised a number of expectations and requests, many of them reportedly centered on ensuring Meghan would receive a respectful and supportive reception if she returned to Britain. Those claims remain unverified, but they have been widely discussed by royal commentators. The reported requests have fueled another round of criticism. Some commentators argue that setting expectations before any visit could be interpreted as placing conditions on how events should unfold. Others believe such reports should be treated cautiously until independently confirmed. Either way, the discussion has become another source of tension surrounding the couple's future relationship with the royal family. According to those same reports, some senior royals are said to be deeply frustrated by the ongoing situation because they believe the focus repeatedly returns to Meghan and the arrangements surrounding her comfort. Critics argue that Harry, after publicly discussing private family disagreements in interviews, documentaries, and his memoir, is now being portrayed as someone seeking specific assurances from the very institution he has so openly criticised. At the centre of all these reports remains one recurring claim, that King Charles is still hoping, above all else, to find a path toward peace, despite everything that has happened. Many royal observers believe King Charles finds himself in an incredibly difficult position. As an aging father, reports have often suggested that he would like to repair the relationship with Harry before time slips away. Yet those same reports also claim he understands the political and personal risks involved. If he was seen offering an especially warm welcome without addressing everything that has happened, some critics believe it could create the impression that Harry's actions ultimately carried no lasting consequences. That is exactly the concern many commentators continue to raise. They argue that such a move could be interpreted as rewarding someone who stepped away from royal duties, publicly criticised the institution, and later returned to receive the same level of acceptance as before. According to those critics, that would be an incredibly difficult message for the working royals to accept, especially those who remained committed to their responsibilities and largely kept private family matters out of the public. Spotlight running alongside that family tension is another issue that refuses to disappear. The ongoing debate over security. Harry previously challenged the decision regarding his publicly funded security arrangements, arguing that the matter involved the safety of himself and his family. However, the courts ultimately upheld the existing framework, meaning the automatic level of protection provided to working royals would not automatically continue after stepping away from official duties. Even after those legal setbacks, the discussion has continued. Harry has repeatedly argued that security remains a serious concern whenever he considers visiting Britain. Critics, however, interpret the issue differently. They believe the requests are not only about safety, but also connected to the privileges and status traditionally associated with being a senior working royal. That disagreement has become another major point of division between supporters and critics alike. To many of those critics, the picture they see is of someone still seeking many of the benefits connected to an institution he spent years publicly criticising. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, it continues to shape much of the debate surrounding any possible return to Britain. Yet some commentators believe an even bigger challenge may exist beyond the strained relationship with the palace. They argue the greater uncertainty could lie much closer to home, within Harry and Meghan's own marriage, where ongoing rumours have continued to attract widespread media attention. According to various tabloid reports and unnamed sources, the couple are said to be leading increasingly separate lives. Those reports remain unverified, but they have repeatedly claimed that Harry and Meghan now spend significant amounts of time pursuing different priorities. Some stories describe Harry focusing on family life with Archie and Lilibet, while Meghan is portrayed concentrating on business projects, public appearances, and expanding her brand. None of those reports have been officially confirmed by the couple. The same reports often suggest that while the pair continue to present a united front during public appearances, their private lives may be considerably more complicated than the polished images shared with the public. Whether those claims accurately reflect reality remains impossible to verify, but they continue to fuel speculation across royal coverage. And according to those same reports, the disagreement over Britain has become one of the biggest sources of tension. Some stories claim Harry misses his home country and hopes his children will have opportunities to spend more time with their grandfather. At the same time, reports suggest Meghan remains reluctant to return because she associates Britain with one of the most intensely scrutinised periods of her life. If those accounts are accurate, the disagreement represents far more than a travel decision. Commentators warn it could become the defining issue that tests their future together, especially as separate appearances, individual commitments, and increasingly noticeable moments continue adding fuel to the growing speculation. One particular appearance, in fact, would soon become one of the biggest talking points of all. Fresh headlines added another unexpected chapter to the ongoing Sussex story when Harry was photographed enjoying a skiing trip in Aspen while back in California. Meghan was once again facing renewed scrutiny surrounding her father, Thomas Markle. Reports stated that Thomas had undergone major surgery that resulted in the loss of his leg, as the contrast immediately caught attention. A husband photographed on the ski slopes, while an estranged father recovered from a life-changing operation thousands of miles away. To many commentators, it hardly resembled the fairy tale image that once surrounded the couple during the early years of their royal journey. Around the same time, another report sparked fresh speculation after Vanity Fair discussed claims that Meghan's team had supposedly explored interest in what was described as a potential divorce memoir. Those reports have never been confirmed, and Meghan has publicly rejected the rumours. Looking directly into the cameras during interviews, she has insisted that no one in the world loves her more than Harry, and that he loves her completely and wholeheartedly. Even so, the speculation has refused to disappear. For many royal watchers, every new rumour brings another round of headlines, and every public denial seems to generate even more discussion than the claim that came before. When you place all these stories side by side, it creates an incredibly complicated picture. Polls suggesting weak public support, commentators predicting difficult receptions, ongoing disagreements with the royal family, continued debate over security, and constant rumours about the marriage have all combined into one of the most closely followed royal stories anywhere in the world. Then came a twist that almost nobody could have predicted. Birmingham, the city expected to host Harry's major Invictus countdown event, found itself making headlines for an entirely different reason. An ongoing bin strike left rubbish piling up across parts of the city, creating scenes that quickly spread across newspapers, television broadcasts, and social media. Overflowing bags, complaints from local residents, unpleasant smells, and growing public frustration suddenly became part of the conversation surrounding a visit that was supposed to focus on the Invictus Games. Several commentators immediately pointed to the unfortunate timing. According to reports, some within Harry's circle were concerned that the sanitation crisis could overshadow months of careful planning. One widely discussed concern was that a single photograph, Harry delivering a speech while visible piles of rubbish sat nearby, could become the defining image carried by news outlets around the world. Whether that actually happens remains uncertain, but media experts often note that one unexpected photograph can completely reshape a major news story overnight. For many observers, the contrast could hardly be more striking. While Harry and Meghan continue facing questions about public opinion, recent polling has consistently placed William and Catherine among the most popular members of the royal family. King Charles has also continued to hold majority support in many surveys. Supporters of the monarchy argue that the institution itself has remained remarkably resilient despite years of public criticism, documentaries, interviews, memoirs, and endless headlines predicting its decline. That comparison continues to fuel debate. Some commentators believe Harry and Meghan are still trying to redefine themselves beyond royal life, while others argue that separating their public image from years of controversy has proven much more difficult than anyone expected. Whether people sympathise with their journey or strongly disagree with the choices they have made, one reality continues to stand out. Public opinion is incredibly difficult to change once it becomes firmly established, especially after years of non-stop media attention. Many analysts also point out that rebuilding trust is rarely quick. It takes consistent actions over a long period of time, and every new interview, appearance, business launch, or public statement is now viewed through the lens of everything that came before. Fair or unfair, that history continues to follow them everywhere they go. It shapes headlines, drives public debate, and ensures that every return, every event, and every new announcement is judged against a story that has been unfolding for years. They hoped the door would still be open. Based on recent polling and the reaction from many commentators, Britain appears to have sent a very different message. Whether that message changes in the future remains to be seen, but for now, the debate surrounding Harry and Meghan shows no signs of slowing down. Every new development seems to raise even more questions about where their story goes next. What do you think? Is there still a path for Harry and Meghan to rebuild their relationship with Britain and the royal family? Or has that opportunity already passed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next royal update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.